So I just want to introduce myself, tell you that I am here for you. If you need anything, don't hesitate to send me an email. I've already done some meetings with kids on video. That's the preference because then we don't pull you out of class. But if you need anything, don't hesitate to email me, okay?
Hey guys, we're here for you. Okay, if you need us, how can you access us? Email. I email students all the time. Okay, we'll video chat with you. Okay, do not have a problem and not let us help you. Okay, we're here for you for anything that you need. That hasn't changed. It's just how we go about it might be a little bit different. Okay, you want me to sing to you? Who is impacted by your success in school? Like, who cares if you're successful in school? Do you remember that? We talked about the different groups. What was one? Your family. Yes, your family very much cares if you succeed in school. Who else? Yes, your teachers, your principals. We care if you are successful in school. And then there's another one, a very, very important person that's impacted by you doing well in school. Who's that very, very important person? Me, right? Yourself. So this year has brought a lot of challenges, yes? And we ended the year last year in a really weird place, didn't we? You kind of had assignments, but they weren't graded. You were trying to keep up with this online thing. It kind of came out of the blue. You were here one day, gone the next day. For the rest of the school year, we had to do everything differently. And so that was a lot to get used to. So now that we are continuing to be in this kind of weird situation where you're in here for 2 days and you're at home for 2 days, it brings a lot of obstacles, right? So one thing that I want to encourage you to do is to set a schedule for yourself. That doesn't mean you have to wake up when you're at home at 7 o'clock and start your work at 8:30 or whatever. You can still make it at your own pace, but you need to have a set schedule so you know what it is you need to do. You set goals for yourself every day. You also need to be checking in with your teachers. How many of you guys are joining live stream? Yeah? Okay. Now, I have met with many students who are not doing live stream and they're being successful. I'm not suggesting that you change something if it's working. But if it's not working, and for some of us it's not working at all, we need to change what we're doing, right? We don't need to keep doing the same thing. It's going to continue to give you the same outcome. So you want to change what you're doing. Join those live streams. Ask your teachers questions. Reach out to your guidance counselors. Let us help you. If it's difficult for you, you certainly don't need to be thinking that you're the only student. Do you know how many students failed a class for 6 weeks? Do you know how many kids failed one class, at least one? 300. 300 students failed at least one class. Do you know how many students missed more than one? 198. 198 students failed more than one class. So it's hard, okay? You're trying to get used to the new way of doing things. Your teachers are getting used to the new way of doing things. Your parents. How many of you guys have parents who are having to keep up with everything? They're going to work, they're coming home, they're going over your schoolwork. Yeah. And I'm a parent. That's not easy. So we're all in this together. Make sure that you're reaching out for support. Okay? All right, we're going to talk about my least favorite subject, but it's necessary. Dress code. Now, every year, we have to look at dress code and look at what's working and what kind of things need to be changed. Okay? Now, not a lot has changed in the world of dress code from last year. But we did go back to the fingertip rule for all pants, like I kind of mentioned last year, we probably would. Okay? So that goes for shorts and over your leggings and things like that. We still have a rule for hats and hoodies in the hallways, in the classrooms. Unless your teachers allow you to wear your hats and hoodies in the classroom, some teachers don't care, and that's fine. That's their classroom, it's their choice. And the most important thing to me is not the hat, it's not the hoodie. It's when an adult tells you to take it off, that you do what? Yeah, you have a couple students in here that had their hats on when they came in. You guys probably came from outside, you had them on outside, and you just didn't think about it when you came in. That's fine, that's not a big deal. But you just have to be respectful. When someone asks you to take it off, you just take it off and keep it moving, right? Don't make it a big deal. Masks. Let's talk about masks for a second. I never thought that we would have to write masks into a dress code, but here we are. Do you guys remember what the requirement was for masks when we first started school? Go ahead, Maddie. Solid colors. Now, I want to admit to you right now, we haven't been enforcing that very much. So I know that there are students and teachers who wore different designs or whatever on the mask. We've talked to your student advisory board, which we'll talk about that in a minute. When we talked about your student advisory team, we talked to teachers, and we've made a little bit of a change to that, knowing that it's pretty difficult to buy or to find the solid color masks that you guys like, right, that are comfortable to wear. So what we're allowing you guys to do is just make sure that there's no words and no characters. So the best way that I can explain a character is like a person, cartoon, or those Halloween masks that look like a scary face right here. You know what I'm talking about? Shake your head if you don't know. Look down there, kind of like that would be a character. So as long as they don't have words, as long as they don't have a character, you can have a pattern on your mask, okay? Remember that the purpose of dress code is to set an example, to set a standard for what's expected in that particular environment. Just like a dress code that we have at work, Officer Dye has a dress code he has to abide by. Trust me, he would rather not be dressing and all that, but in his career, that's what he has to wear, right? Mrs. Gray, myself, we have to dress appropriate for our jobs and for the environment that we're working in. So that's the purpose of dress code. And the reason that I say that is, I've had a couple conversations with some of your peers who have said, well, I don't understand why I can't wear this or that. Why is it my responsibility to keep people from being distracted? And that's not the case. That is not the purpose of dress code. It has nothing to do with someone being distracted or that what you're wearing is not okay to wear. That something's wrong with what you're wearing. That's not dress code at all. There's nothing wrong with what you're wearing, it just doesn't fit the standard of school, okay? So with that being said, you're not going to be disrespected. You're not going to be embarrassed if you're out of dress code. We're just going to address it, we'll help you fix it, and we'll get you back to class. Is that fair enough? All right. PE, remember you guys, you're not dressing out for PE anymore. Make sure you're bringing extra pairs of shoes, whatever it is that you need to do to be comfortable for PE, because you still have to do PE and not being able to dress out. We don't want you to mess up your clothes. We don't want you to be unable to participate. You guys have done great. We haven't had any conflicts to work through. We haven't had a lot of issues. We haven't really had bullying as a problem. So we're really, really proud of that. But we do want to make sure that we're reminding you of the expectations so that we continue to be on that right path. So remember bullying, there's a zero tolerance policy, and bullying refers to the repetition of negative behavior towards someone. So that, again, goes back if someone tells you to stop or someone's obviously bothered by that you stop that behavior. Because once it becomes a pattern, it becomes bullying. Okay? And then remember in social media, make sure that you are portraying the character that you want to portray for yourself when you're out there on your TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever social media it is that you're using. Remember that footprint that you're making for yourself. We talked about that last year, right? Nowadays, college campuses, your people who own businesses, they're doing Google searches for you and they want to see what that character looks like on your social media. So make sure you're portraying something positive. And then use of school technology, you guys. Out of all the discipline issues, this would be the one that I would say we are having an issue with this right now. Everything on your school computer can be traced. Okay, the history, if you go and clear out your history and you feel like it's all wrong, it's not. It's saved in the cloud, it's owned by Union County Public Schools. If you create a Google document and you share it with your friend and you have a conversation back and forth on that Google document, deleting some of it as you type back and forth, all of that can be pulled back up and read. So make sure you know this, that anything you do on that computer can be traced. Okay, so don't do anything on there that you wouldn't want your parents to read.
All right, just a couple things. First one up there is communicating threats. That's an obvious thing. You make a threat to somebody that you're going to hurt them or do something to them. Obviously, that gets you in trouble in the school, but also with me. A lot of times, there's not too much that I can do if the person you're making that threat to comes and says, "Hey, I feel threatened. I have to take action," and that potentially means you get in trouble legally and be charged with a crime. So just make sure that we're making good decisions on that kind of stuff. Next one up there is aggressive behavior. Anybody tell me what they think that might be? What aggressive behavior might be? Let's go. Getting into a fight, that's right. When you get into a fight here, it's obviously not never a good thing to get in that fight. If you have a problem with somebody, you can find one of us to talk to. Maybe we have to work it out, or you don't have to go that route. The multiple aggressors, this is a big item between me and Dr. Ely. We don't like to see people teaming up on anybody and then trying to go back and sort of goes hand in hand with bullying somebody, like you're teaming up and hanging up on somebody and beating them up. Obviously, that's a bad thing. Not only will that get you in trouble with me legally, but that will also get you in trouble with the school to the tune of like automatic 10-day suspension with the possibility of expulsion from the school. So they take this very, very, very seriously here at the school. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Hopefully, it'll keep you from making bad decisions. The harassment, that's one of those things that if you're making inappropriate comments to somebody and they ask you to stop and you continue to do it, obviously that is harassment, and that can get you in trouble with me. Some other forms of harassment, just real quick, if you're making an inappropriate comment to your friend and somebody hears it and they feel uncomfortable by it and they ask you to stop, that's still a form of harassment that you continue to do. Obviously, we want to continue to make sure that our school is safe and secure. So if you see open doors that are supposed to be shut and locked, please make sure that you shut them. If you go out of the classroom, get water, go to the bathroom, make sure you pull the classroom door shut. If you come across a classroom door that is unlocked and it's outside of the mass break or lunch, let your teacher know that you need to lock your classroom door. Be vigilant. If you see something, like somebody that you don't recognize or somebody comes to the door, let the teacher know that you see somebody that you've never seen before walking in the hallways, and they can report it to us and we can find out who they are. Not opening doors to people that you don't know, especially if you do know them, it's not your job to open it. You don't necessarily know what they're there for. Even if it's like I really said earlier, even if they're sitting there and they're wearing a school uniform that says you can't go to school door, don't open the door for them. If they've got that uniform on, they have keys and they have access cards. They can open that door. So don't open the door for anybody. Let them worry about it now in on their own.
Okay, you guys, think about this for just a second. We put a lot of focus into being 6 feet apart, right? As you're sitting on tape right now, you keep yourself 6 feet apart. We put a lot of focus on wearing your mask, right guys? We put a lot of focus on washing your hands and, making sure that your hands are sanitized when you're coming into classrooms and leaving them, cleaning the desk before you sit down and after you get up, those kinds of things. But we aren't doing lockdown drills like we used to, right? You're just talking to your teachers about them. And the whole purpose of lockdown drill is to keep it fresh in your mind, a plan if you need it, right? It's always good to be prepared. So just continue to remind yourself every once in a while when we're doing those drills, don't just go through the motions. Really think about what would I do, where would I go, okay, how would I keep myself safe? And then like Officer Dye said, just be really observant because we don't want to focus so much on COVID that we forget the other elements of school safety, okay? Make sure that when you're communicating online, it's keeping you safe too. Don't tell people where you live. Don't tell people what school you go to. Don't give people personal information like that unless you know them. Because there are people out there that are going to use that information for not good reasons, okay? So just make sure that whenever you're communicating with people online, whether it's through gaming system, how many of you guys talk to people live when you're playing your game? Yeah, I mean, those people, some of them that maybe you make friends with and you play with them often, and some people are just randomly there in the game, right? So you don't want to share information with people outside of information specific to that game. Keep yourself safe in that way as well. Remember, the bus is the extension of the school day. You need to wear your mask on the bus. You need to remain socially distanced on the bus. And then all the other school rules and bus safety rules apply as well. Say something. Remember the training last week, guys? Remember the training for say something? Yeah, just want to put another plug in here. Make sure you remember that that is a resource for you. If you see something, you say something. If you see something online that doesn't really sound right or is a little concerning, maybe somebody posts something about someone else that's not nice or that's violent, or they say something about themselves, you can report that anonymously, which means no one will know it's you. Okay? And you can get those people the help that they need. So make sure you remember that that's a resource. All right, so Student Advisory Council was started this year. I kind of sent out a big open invitation to anyone who would be interested. We've got 15 students on that team from 6th grade to 8th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We talk about how school's going, what kind of things teachers are doing that's great, what kind of things they wish would get a little bit better. Not in a disrespectful way, but in a growing way, just to make sure we're all moving towards the right way. Make sure that all students feel like Piedmont is home to them. What kind of things we can do to incorporate more of that. And so if there's any questions that you have or any things that you think would be good for us to discuss, make sure that you're forwarding that to me or to another Student Advisory Council member, okay? You guys have been great. Do you have any questions for me before I let you go to kind of hang out?